You guys all know the parts of the chicken?
Yes.
What's that part that I'm holding?
The tail.
Tail, so that's the butt. So his head's up here?
Yeah.
Nice. Alright, so he walks like this? Is this how chickens walk?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's a left
Close.
foot, right foot.
Am I doing that right, Damien? Got some rhythm. Boom. Alright. What am I holding on to?
The wings.
Legs.
Drums. What's this section? Thigh. When you put the thigh and the drum together, they become
The leg.
legs. Okay. Up on top we have the
Breast.
breast. On the back side, you have the backbone going down. What are these little chunks of meat here? They, huh?
Oysters.
Oysters. Best piece of the meat when you roast a whole bird. Don't tell anybody. But if you're roasting a chicken or a turkey or a duck, when you're done and you're carving it at home, those are the first things you go for. Just kind of like put those out. They go to be extremely moist,
Actually,
delicate, tender. Nobody knows that unless you share that secret. I only shared it with my daughter, and of course my wife watches, and now she wants it. But oysters, they're the best. All right. So we have our chicken. A lot of the times when we're cutting this chicken, I want you to think of the tailbone as an arrow. See that? I want you to think of the chicken breast, the thinner sections of the breast, as an arrow. Notice the arrow is 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock is in front of me. Okay? So when I say I want the arrow at 12 o'clock or away from you, I want it going that direction. All right? Because that's how we're going to work with it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check to see if there's any fat in the cavity. There is. We could save that for not stock,
Broth.
not broth. We would render it down into chicken fat. Okay? And we would be able to use that in different recipes for sauteing or whatever. Rendering down. What is rendering down? What is render?
Making smaller.
What is render? Extracting all of the fat out into a liquid form. And then we would use that, it would become like oil, if you would. But it's chicken fat, okay? And it's very good, it's very flavorful, right? All right, so all that is out. Next thing I'm gonna do is, chicken goes breast side down, arrow away from you, arrow being tailbone. Knife, if you think of the wings and as an armpit, okay? Right underneath is a chicken breast, correct? It's the most expensive part of that bird when you cut it down and it becomes boneless, skinless chicken breast. And if you can afford to buy boneless, skinless chicken breast, God bless you, because that's expensive. Your best bet is buy the whole chicken and cut them down, okay? So, or get chicken with the bone on. Think of an armpit right here, and if I close that wing, see it's the armpit? All right, down by the head. I'm just going to make a slit this way, just barely underneath that armpit and toward the head. Now, if I look at that, I can see the ball. Can you see a ball there? Cartilage? You guys can't, so you're going to have a hard time cutting chickens. Okay? You have your socket and you have your ball. You see that? I just barely cut that chicken breast. Now, I'm not holding it up. Down, I'm going to take that knife and I'm going to curve around right down to the board. Okay? Chicken wing. See that? Now I'm going to turn the chicken to do the other side. This time, and every once in a while, you know, one half of the chicken when you're cutting it is different from the other half because it's two different sides of the body, right? I'm coming underneath that armpit, but toward the head because I do not want to cut into the breast. And then I just scoop around that ball. See that? You don't want a big chunk of meat on here. If you get a big chunk of meat on that wing, that's chicken breast. I know you like it when you go out and order chicken wings and you see that big old piece of meat, but that's money. Now, let's put that over to the side, our wings. We are going to freeze up the wings, but we're going to remove the wing tip. Okay? You have your wing tip here, and then you have your edible chicken wing here. Think of the arrow going away from you. When I say arrow, look at this. See? Arrow pointing up. Okay, then I'm gonna flip it. See this arrow? Think of everything as an arrow. Move it so you can see where the joint is. The joint here is right there. The joint here is right here. You can see the ball. Can you see that ball? Someone point to that ball that's moving. You got it. Who is that? Not. Nice, Robbie. So, if you look at the point, and then right in here, look at the tip of the knife. See that? Look at where that ball is. Right there. I want to cut right on that ball, and it goes through. Okay? Now, I can do the same thing here. You can, but I can come this way. Where's the ball here? Not you, Robbie. Where's the ball? Somebody? Where's the ball at the joint? Right there. You can see it, right? The little white dot there. I get the knife on there, and I just cut. If you end up cutting and it's not going through, you may be hitting bone. Just move the knife. These, we're going to save. This, whoop, I'm going to save that too. That's chicken stock right there. So now I know where that is. I can just go a little bit quicker. I know where the ball is. Boom. You like chicken wings? You like chicken wings?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, wings are off. Set it on its backbone. The skin that is adhering to the breast and where the drum and thigh come together, all I want you to do is blade up, poke a little hole on the other side. Put your knife down, take your fingers, stretch that. See how I did that? Up. You see? See the hands by the backbone, your thumbs. I'm going to pop, pop. Okay, so we separate the joint. Okay. Once you do that, this skin you need to open up, not in by the cavity, but up to the tailbone. So I'm going to hold the skin up a little. I'm just going to trim that so I can see all this extra meat. So I can see the meat here. I want you to look down at this bird right now. See the flabby skin? That stays. I'm going to tuck that in. You see the difference between what you can see here and what you can't see there? You can't see any of the thigh meat over here. That's why you need to take that skin and open it up. So if I take this side and I just do that, and then I can open it up. Okay? Now, you see this, all of that thigh? Notice this is still intact. You want that to stay. Now, if you take your thumb and where that thigh is, there's a bone right here. And it's just natural, your finger, whether it's your thumb or your index finger, will go right in there. And so I just went into that and pushed it down. It pulled that thigh meat away from that bone. Okay? See? Same thing over here. It's natural, right where that fat is, you can put your finger in there and just separate. See how I did that? See all that meat? Remember, the idea of fabricating a chicken is removing as much meat as possible. Okay? So, once that's done, now I can hold it up. I can see the entire thigh. When you hold the chicken, take your hand between the drum and the thigh. Ms. Donna, can you put that big envelope in the mailbox for me, please? Thank you. See how I'm holding that? Again, the arrow of the tail up in the air. I'm not holding it up. It's got to stay on the board. But I want that up. The idea is I do not want to damage the thigh by grabbing that thigh with your fingers. Just take it and go around between the drum and the thigh and hold it. Now, I'm going to turn it so I can see this side by the backbone and also over here. I can take the tip of my knife. I'm just going to come up, go along the back, and slowly, as I make a little incision, I'm going to take my knife, push the carcass away from me, and I'm going to pull gently just till it starts to separate a little. I can take my thumb, push that over the extra meat, and slowly make these cuts. Pulling a little bit, cutting. I'm not just going straight down. I want to see this side, and I also want to see this side, because can you see where the meat is on the back? See this dark color? See this little dark color, and it's even got some white? That tells you where the meat is. Here, here, here. So that's why it's important that you look straight down when you're cutting that. And once you do enough chickens, you're going to know exactly where to go and you can knock them out. The key to this is, you see meat? I got to come underneath. I got to come behind that. Here's your ball. Here's your socket. Ball, socket. Ball, socket. The socket is the white cartilage. I'm going to take my knife, and that socket, I'm going to take that knife, I'm going to come scoop around and underneath that socket. See that? You're going to see the oyster start to get exposed. Before you just pull that, you want to make sure you cut all tendons. Notice I just put that knife right up into the backbone. And I'm going to start to pull. If you see that oyster starting to tear, it's not released, and you can see some veins and some tendons down here underneath. You see this right here? That's holding it together. So I'm just going to take my knife and I'm going to make sure that's been cut. Then I'll put the knife back, and I should be able to just pull that oyster out. I notice it's starting to tear, so I'm going to help it a little bit. Wow. See where the oyster was? See where it is? If you look on this side here that we just took off, the idea is to get all that chicken meat off. Okay? Look at that thigh. You have the meat that was up by the tail end. Okay? You have the oyster. Your thigh should look like that, not like that. If it looks like that, that means you didn't get the oyster and you didn't get the thigh meat. Okay? So we'll put that over there for now. Now we're going to do the other side. Stand it up. Again, get a good grip between the drum and the thigh. Follow this thigh meat all the way up to the tailbone. And I can just simply take that knife, because I want to get all that meat. Make a simple incision. Notice how I'm taking my thumb and helping pull it away. I can see back here where the line is, so I'm going to make small cuts, pull and push. I see the fat, pull and push. I know the oyster's right here, so I'm always thinking about the oyster. I see the ball coming. I can see where the cartilage is starting to begin for that socket. So now I see the socket, and I notice I'm just going to come right around that socket, come up underneath, and I should be able to pull, and hopefully it comes out. It's not releasing. I can help it. I cut the other tendons, and we pull it, and here comes the oyster. See? The blade on the carcass, and I just pull it. Like so. Okay? Put that over on your ice bath. Now we're going to separate drum and thigh. Is everybody right-handed in here? Do I have any lefties? No lefties? Good. When you're doing your chicken leg, the drums should always be facing. The drum should always be facing to the left. Thighs on the right. I want you to take your hand, just slide it over the meat that you can see, and then you're going to see this white fat line. That separates. Again, think of that arrow. The arrow would be over here, okay, even though it looks a little fatter, but you can see that joint. You can see where it's moving. Right here is where it's moving. You are going to cut on the fat line, but all the way to the left of it. Still on the fat line. I'm right at the edge of that fat line. See it? And it should go gently right through. Like so. Do not cut it this way. You don't know where you're going. And I don't even want to see you doing this. Alright? I want you to see that fat line. That's your guide. One thing you want to keep in mind whenever you cut meat, or even poultry, if you're cutting fat, you're on the right track. If you're cutting meat, there's a problem. If you're cutting and it's not going through, that's a problem. You're cutting bone. Now, we're going to take that drum. I'm going to put it on the flat side. I'll take my knife. I want to get the extra skin off. Why do I want the extra skin off? Any idea?
When it cooks up, it'll be all crisp and it'll kind of be like awkward just sitting there.
Yeah. Not only that, but all that extra skin, all that extra fat is just going to make whatever recipe you're making is just going to make it extremely greasy. All right, fatty. We want to take that off. This we're going to render down, right? That's good stuff right there to be rendering. So we'll put that in the ice bath. I'll take this thigh, make sure the skin is covering. I'll flip it over, and I'm going to cut off the excess skin and fat. Okay? We're going to put that over here. Oh, look at that. I want you to see that whole thigh. Now we're going to do the same thing with this. Make sure the skin is over. Flip it over. Take your hand, because see how this skin is hiding that fat line? Take your hand and just push it over gently. Now you expose the fat line. Drum is always to the left. I'm cutting the edge of that fat line. Watch how easy that knife goes through. Okay? Again, hold on the flat side, get the extra skin off. Now it looks nice and clean. Organize your pan in here. Notice I'm putting stuff in, it's organized. Drum's going that way. Board is nice and clean. My thigh is nice and clean. Extra skin off to the side. Because this you're going to render down and we'll use. Okay? Then you have beautiful looking thighs. Look at all the meat on that thigh. That's what I want your thigh to look like. See the oyster? See the extra? If you don't get those, your thigh looks like that. Which one do you want? Who's making more money? Which restaurant? This restaurant or that restaurant? This restaurant. Okay? So we're going to take this back out. We're going to put our thighs in. Okay? And then we're going to take our carcass. Now, breast to the right. Again, arrow, tailbone, straight in the air. The cavity now, the thin skin, I just take the blade up, just poke a hole through and cut that. Back of the knife up against the bottom of the chicken breast. See how I just turned my hand? I'm holding it. I just come over, snap it, and if it doesn't come through, just cut it off. Okay? That's the first part of your backbone. Now again, it's being used for stock. Do we want all that skin and fat in your stock? No. Makes it greasy, throws off the flavor, and it will also make it cloudy. Do you need to get all of it off? No, you do not need to get all of it off. But you're just going to take that, just get a little bit of that skin off. You don't need to get anything else off. Put that with your bones. We'll render that. We're talking about money. All right. Now we're going to get the second part of that backbone, which is right here. And I want you to think of your index finger. That's how far apart you're going to make those cuts on that backbone. You see the backbone here? And see where it ends up here? Just make a little line like that and put your finger there. Do you understand what I'm doing? See those slits? You do not want to get on the outside of these bones here. Let me show you that bone. That bone, there's one on this side. If you get on the outside, you're not cutting through. Okay? So I'm going to hold it up now. Arrow up in the air. I'm going to take my fingers, I got to hold the rib cage. And if you have a sharp knife, right where you make that little slit, you're going straight down. So you don't cut through the chicken breast. Okay? Now I'm going to turn it a little bit more, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And it comes right out. Same thing here. If there's any skin or fat, try to take that off. Put it in your chicken pile. Okay? Now, chicken breast down, arrow away from you. Thin part of the chicken breast away. What are we looking at? What's the tip of my knife on? Keel bone, breastbone. Okay? Right here, if you look where my finger is, that's where you got your bones coming together. It forms an arrow. See the arrow comes up here? It's here too. I'm forming it with the knife and my finger. There's usually a little piece of meat on there. I want you to just push that aside. Do you see that white cartilage? See that? That's right where those bones come together. You with me? You're not cutting through. You're not cutting this. You're just going to make a slit dead center. Okay? That's it. Pick the breast meat up. The breast is in your finger, in your hands. Your thumbs on the inside by the rib cage. Now I'm going to pop that. Do you see? I notice this is still connected over here. That's no problem. I'm going to just take my thumb, hold that, and we're just going to try to open that up. See? Unfold it. Then you're going to take your fingers, this cartilage, and I'm going to start up here. I'm just going to run my finger down the side of that cartilage. See that? Take my thumb, do the other side. All that. See how the meat comes off? Take my fingers, there's a claw to come underneath. Just pick that up, pull that out. There's your keel bone, breastbone that goes with stock. Flip it over. Make sure the skin is covering your breast. Flip it back. Now I'm just going to cut that right in half. Okay? Good? Yes, sir.
So you want us to keep the bones intact to the breast?
No. We're going to flip this over. Well, I'm sorry. This one, I'm going to come underneath the rib cage. Don't come all the way down here. Just up here. Think of this knife being under those bones right now. I'm going to just slide under the bone, blade up on the bone, and I'm going to slice through. Okay? Right here where that cartilage is. Poke. Come through. Now, it's important that you take this. Again, sitting, arrow up in the air. That rib cage is like a shield for you. I'm cutting into the bone. I don't want to cut into the meat. Cut into the bone. Now I'm going to take the knife, blade up, and I'm going to just scrape and push the meat away. Then I'm going to cut into the bone again. Around, push down. Into the bone, around, push down. See how the meat is just coming away from the bone? So you don't have meat on the bone. Remember, the idea is to get all that meat off. I can scrape that. I'm turning. I'm pushing. What do I see? White cartilage. Another joint, right? Now I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut right through that. And the only bone that's still going to be there is that wishbone. Sometimes it gets stuck in there. I'll put it right back. If you cut through that, it's not a big deal. You'll be able to pull it out. There's that rib cage. That's for stock. I want to feel around, make sure there's no bone left in there. Flip it over. Make sure it's covered with the skin. Cut the excess off. Then look at this chicken breast. You're going to see some veins coming through. Blood veins. Let's just take those out because they're not so nice. Right? I'm going to clean that chicken breast up. Boom. Now we have boneless chicken breast over here. This side, it's kind of hard to come underneath. Remember the other side of that chicken? So what do I do with that side? I just add all of that breast meat. See where the fat line is here? I put my finger here, pick the rest of the breast meat up, and I kind of pinch these two fingers. And then right where that cartilage is, I take that knife, boom, flip it over, and do the same thing to this one. I start up here. Slice, and see how the meat just starts to fall off? Come down, slice again, scrape and push. Scrape and push. See that? I see the bone. Boom. If you see the wishbone, see it? I'm just going to trim that right out. Over there. Extra skin. Cover the breast. Cut the extra off. If you get a big piece of fat, that's great for rendering, right? See the blood veins over here? Let's get those out of there. Make it look more appealing. Okay? And then you have your boneless chicken breast. So when you look at this, let's bring this over here so you can see. You've got your chicken breast, you got your drums and your thigh. Chicken breast, drums, thigh, wings, bones. This is what I want your finished product to look like. 2 people working at a table, you only need 1 for your fat, okay? And that way, you put everything in here. What we're gonna do is, I've got sheet pans in here that Amber put together. We're going to put all the drums on sheet pans as close as possible without touching. We'll do a sheet pan for thighs, a sheet pan for chicken breast, a sheet pan for wings, and then a 4-inch hotel pan for chicken bones. Okay? When you do, we'll pull those pans out and we'll start transferring, or the other group will come over and start taking your meat and putting it on those trays to speed up the process. Good?